Anxiety doesn't start with a scream. It starts with a whisper. That quiet, invisible pressure on your chest. That racing thought that won't turn off even when you're exhausted. That voice that says, "What if this goes wrong?" Again and again, until it becomes the only thing you hear. You try to drown it out, with work, with noise, with endless scrolling, but it grows louder. You wake up tired. You feel restless in calm moments. You're constantly preparing for disasters that never come. This is the modern plague. Not hunger, not war, but the battle inside the mind. And yet, 2,000 years ago, the Stoics faced the same storm. Marcus Aurelius led wars. Seneca lived under tyranny. Epictetus was born a slave. And somehow, they found peace. Not because life was easy, but because they mastered the art of not being ruled by fear. They didn't escape anxiety, they disarmed it. They turned chaos into clarity. They built calm in a world of noise. And what they discovered still applies today, maybe more than ever. Marcus wrote in Meditations, "Today I escaped anxiety. Or no, I discarded it, because it was within me, in my own perceptions, not outside." That's the brutal truth. It's never the world that makes us anxious. It's our reaction to it, our obsession with control, our addiction to certainty. So in this video, we're not chasing comfort. We're chasing strength. The kind of inner stillness that can walk through uncertainty and still say, "I'm okay." These aren't soft affirmations. They're Stoic weapons, forged in suffering, tested by time, and designed to make you unstoppable. Because anxiety doesn't disappear when life gets easy. It disappears when you get stronger. Let's begin. Anxiety thrives in silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that feels like being trapped in your own head. You sit there, heart racing, mind spinning, wondering why everyone else seems calm while you're fighting invisible battles. It's strange, isn't it? We live in the safest, most comfortable time in human history, and yet, we are more anxious than any generation before us. The world promised us freedom, technology, comfort, but it sold us chaos in disguise. 1,000 notifications, endless comparisons, constant noise, and a mind that can't tell the difference between urgency and importance. The Stoics knew this long before it had a name. They didn't use words like mental health or panic attacks. But they understood the root of anxiety, attachment to things we can't control. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Think about that. Most of what we fear never actually happens. We lose sleep over futures that never come true, and we destroy our peace by trying to predict what's beyond our reach. The Stoics saw anxiety not as a curse, but as a signal, a reminder that the mind has drifted too far from the present moment. When Marcus Aurelius wrote his Meditations, he wasn't writing for us. He was writing for himself, a man ruling an empire, surrounded by war, betrayal, and uncertainty. And yet his words are painfully modern. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's it. That's the entire blueprint for peace. Anxiety grows when we try to control the uncontrollable. It fades when we control ourselves. This is where Stoicism becomes a weapon, not a philosophy to read, but a practice to live. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about training the mind to stay steady even when it's not. It's the art of remaining calm when the world screams chaos. So today, we'll explore 8 brutal Stoic rules that will teach you how to stop being ruled by fear. Not to eliminate anxiety, but to master it. Because the goal isn't to feel nothing. It's to feel deeply, without being destroyed by it. Let's begin with Rule 1. Rule 1. Audit your mind like a Stoic emperor. Before you clean your room, before you organize your life, you must audit your mind. Because anxiety doesn't begin in the world outside. It begins in the chaos inside your own thoughts. Every anxious person carries a mental inventory, fears, assumptions, what-ifs, imaginary catastrophes. But how often do you stop and question them? How often do you ask, "Is this true? Or am I just believing my panic?" Marcus Aurelius, sitting in his tent during war, wrote something profound. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If your thoughts are chaotic, anxious, or toxic, your world starts to look that way too. That's why the Stoics believed in what we now call cognitive discipline, the ability to pause, inspect, and reframe every thought before it takes root. They treated the mind like a garden. Weeds will grow on their own, but flowers need attention. So here's the brutal truth. You can't fight anxiety by wishing it away. You conquer it by tracking it, by shining a light on the hidden mental habits that keep you trapped in worry. Try this. Once a day, sit down and write the top 3 things that made you anxious. Then ask yourself 3 Stoic questions. 1. Is this within my control? 2. Is this as bad as my mind claims? 3. Will this matter in 5 years? 9 times out of 10, your answer will be no. And that realization alone dismantles anxiety's power. Seneca said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." The Stoics were the original mental auditors. They didn't suppress emotion, they examined it. They believed that clarity, not control, brings peace. When you stop labeling every emotion as good or bad, and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" your anxiety transforms from an enemy into a messenger. Here's the modern version of what the Stoics practiced. Silence the noise. Turn off the notifications. Journal your thoughts. Don't judge them. Identify recurring patterns, the same fears in new disguises. And above all, don't react immediately. The pause between stimulus and response is where your power lives. Anxiety thrives in autopilot minds. Audit yours. Run diagnostics like an emperor inspecting his empire. Every belief that causes you unnecessary fear, challenge it, question it, and if it's false, banish it. Because peace doesn't come from controlling the world, it comes from managing the parliament of your own thoughts. That's the first step to mastering anxiety. Mental audit before mental peace. Rule 2. Detach from the timeline. The present is your fortress. Anxiety lives in 2 places that don't exist, the past and the future. It feeds on memory and imagination. What happened, what could happen, what might go wrong. That's why Marcus Aurelius warned, "Do not let your imagination be crushed by life as a whole. Take the present moment and divide it like a soldier divides the battlefield." The Stoics understood something most people today don't. Anxiety isn't a feeling, it's time travel. It's the mind leaving the present moment and getting lost in a place it can't control. Think about your last anxious thought. Was it about what's happening right now? No, it was about what might happen tomorrow, what someone might say, what could go wrong if you fail. The irony is that none of those things exist yet. They're mental projections, like ghosts that look real in the dark but vanish when the light of awareness hits them. Seneca said it beautifully. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. And yet, look around, our entire modern life is designed to pull us out of the present. Endless scrolling. Notifications that steal your focus. A timeline that makes you believe life is a race you're always losing. No wonder we live in a state of quiet panic. We've turned existence into a competition we never signed up for. The Stoics would tell you, detach from the timeline. Stop comparing your progress to others, your pace to theirs, your story to their highlight reel. Your life isn't late. Your growth isn't behind. You're exactly where you need to be if you're truly here. Epictetus taught that freedom is the right use of the will. That means your freedom isn't stolen by people or circumstances. It's surrendered every time you let your attention drift into anxiety's trap. So how do you reclaim it? By making the present your fortress. Not a fragile bubble that anxiety bursts, but a stronghold you return to again and again. Here's how the Stoics practiced this. Ground yourself in sensory reality. When you feel your heart racing, focus on something you can see, hear, or touch. The mind can't panic and observe at the same time. Name your moment. When overwhelmed, say to yourself, "This is the moment I am in." Naming it breaks the illusion that you're lost. Shrink your time horizon. Stop asking, "What if this lasts forever?" And start asking, "Can I handle the next 5 minutes?" Because you can. And 5 minutes at a time is how entire lives are conquered. Log off from the endless race. Social media timelines are anxiety's breeding ground. curated stress disguised as connection. Take back your peace by stepping out of the performance loop. The Stoic knows, the world doesn't make you anxious, your attachment to imagined futures does. Detach from them. Detach from the story that says you're behind. Detach from the illusion that life must be different right now. You don't need to know where this road ends. You only need to take the next step, calmly, clearly, fully present. Because when you stop time traveling in your own mind, anxiety loses its passport. The present becomes your shield. And peace, not perfection, becomes your new definition of success. Rule 3. Don't argue with your thoughts, observe them like clouds. Here's a truth most people never learn. You can't outthink anxiety. You can't argue with fear, debate worry, or reason your way through panic. Because anxiety isn't logical, it's loud. And the more you talk back to it, the more it talks over you. Marcus Aurelius warned us 2,000 years ago. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Every anxious thought you chase becomes a stain on the mind. You replay it, reshape it, resist it, and it grows stronger with every repetition. It's like trying to calm turbulent water by splashing harder. The Stoics discovered a better way, detachment through observation. They didn't fight their emotions, they studied them. Because you can't master what you refuse to look at clearly. Epictetus taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you interpret it, that matters. And that includes what happens inside your own head. When an anxious thought arises, I'm not enough, this will go wrong, I can't handle this, your first instinct is to panic or push back. But the Stoic way says, don't engage. Observe. Imagine you're sitting on a mountain. Below you, the sky is filled with clouds, some dark, some bright. Those clouds are your thoughts. They drift, they change, they come and go. You don't chase them. You don't cling to them. You watch. You breathe. You wait. And slowly, you realize the truth. You're not the storm, you're the sky. That's Stoic awareness in practice. Modern psychology calls this cognitive distancing, but the Stoics lived it centuries before. They knew that observation breaks identification. When you watch your thoughts instead of becoming them, you create space. And in that space, peace begins. Here's a Stoic exercise to try next time anxiety strikes. 1. Name the thought. When you feel panic rise, say, there's anxiety. Not I am anxious. Words matter. You're identifying it as an event, not your identity. 2. Describe it, don't judge it. Notice how it feels, where it lives in your body, like a scientist studying a strange phenomenon. 3. Watch it fade. All thoughts fade when they're not fueled by reaction. Like clouds in the wind, they pass on their own. Seneca said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." He wasn't minimizing suffering. He was teaching mastery, how to separate what's happening to you from what's happening within you. When you stop arguing with anxiety, you disarm it. When you stop believing every thought, you become unshakable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That applies even here. Anxiety doesn't block peace, it points to it. Each moment of fear is an invitation to return to awareness. Each racing thought is a teacher whispering, "Look at me, not through me." You'll never silence the mind completely, but you can stop it from running the show. And that's what the Stoics called ataraxia, tranquility not from absence of thought, but from mastery over it. So the next time your mind starts spinning, don't fight the storm. Stand tall. Watch. Let the thunder roll through, and the clouds move past. Because the mind isn't your enemy, only your reaction to it is. And when you master that, you don't just overcome anxiety. You become the calm within it. Rule 4. Build a fortress of routine, because chaos fears structure. Anxiety thrives in uncertainty. It feeds on what's vague, undefined, and chaotic. That's why your mind spirals at night, when the day's noise fades and the unknown creeps in. But here's what the Stoics knew. You don't calm the storm by waiting for peace. You calm it by building order. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, commander of legions, ruler of millions, lived in chaos every day. Yet his private writings weren't about politics or conquest. They were reminders to stay grounded. He wrote, "At dawn, when you rise unwillingly, remember, you are rising to do the work of a human being." That wasn't just motivation, it was discipline disguised as peace. Routine, for Marcus, was not restriction. It was armor, because structure protects the mind. When your days have rhythm, your thoughts have room to breathe. When your life has order, anxiety loses its playground. Most people think anxiety comes from doing too much, but often it comes from doing too little that matters. We scroll endlessly. We delay. We drift. And the mind, unanchored, starts to feed on itself. The Stoics lived differently. They treated each day like a training ground, a deliberate rehearsal for life. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." That's structure. That's clarity. That's how you stop drowning in uncertainty. A fortress of routine doesn't mean robotic living. It means knowing where your energy goes and refusing to waste it on noise. The Stoics weren't control freaks, they were control masters. They didn't try to dominate the world, they simply organized their minds so the world couldn't dominate them. Here's how you can build your fortress. 1. Start your day with intention, not reaction. Don't let your phone dictate your mindset before your feet touch the ground. Marcus began his day by journaling his thoughts. You can do the same. Write, breathe, plan. Begin with yourself. 2. Design daily rituals, not random habits. Seneca scheduled time for reading, reflection, and conversation. Rituals give meaning to repetition. They turn motion into mindfulness. 3. End the day with closure. Before sleep, review the day. What went well? What didn't? What did you learn? This Stoic evening inventory isn't guilt, it's growth. Routine won't remove all chaos, but it gives chaos boundaries. And that's the key. Anxiety has less power when your day already knows where it's going. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Anxiety steals time because it thrives in indecision. Structure wins time back because it eliminates hesitation. The Stoics weren't chasing calm. They were creating clarity. They knew peace doesn't appear. It's built, brick by brick, through the small acts that make up a life. So build your fortress. Wake with purpose. End with reflection. Live each day like it was chosen, not drifted into. Because when life becomes deliberate, anxiety becomes desperate. And eventually, it fades. Not because the world got easier, but because you became harder to shake. Rule 5. Train for discomfort, because comfort is the breeding ground of fear. We think anxiety comes from having too much pain in life. But the Stoics would say the opposite. It often comes from having too little. When life becomes too easy, the mind becomes too fragile. When everything is comfortable, even the smallest challenge feels catastrophic. And when we never train ourselves to endure, anxiety becomes our default setting. Epictetus knew this better than anyone. He was born a slave, beaten, controlled, powerless. Yet he became one of the calmest minds in history. He taught, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. His life wasn't about escaping discomfort, it was about mastering it. Because he understood, discomfort isn't the enemy. Fragility is. Today, we've built a world where everything is designed to eliminate pain. Soft beds, instant food, constant entertainment, emotional padding from even the smallest sting. And yet, we are more anxious than ever. Why? Because when comfort becomes your standard, reality becomes terrifying. The Stoics trained for life like warriors, not worriers. They didn't seek pain, they sought preparation. Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, used to sleep on the floor for days just to remind himself he could. He'd eat the simplest food and wear rough clothes, whispering, "Is this what I feared?" That's not self-punishment. It's self-liberation. When you prove to yourself that you can handle less, anxiety about losing more begins to fade. Modern people spend their days avoiding every discomfort, traffic, silence, confrontation, rejection, and then wonder why their hearts race at the smallest threat. But the Stoic mind says, lean in, train the muscle. If you can face small discomforts deliberately, big ones won't destroy you accidentally. Here's how to train the Stoic way. 1. Do one hard thing every day. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Wake up early. Take a cold shower. Speak an uncomfortable truth. Every act of chosen struggle reduces the power of unchosen fear. 2. Sit with your discomfort before escaping it. When anxiety rises, resist the urge to distract yourself immediately. Breathe. Feel it. Watch it lose its edge. You'll learn that emotions can't kill you, only avoidance can. 3. Embrace voluntary simplicity. Once a week, strip your life down, eat plainly, go without luxury, spend time alone. This rebalances your nervous system. You stop needing more to feel okay. Marcus Aurelius faced endless hardship, plagues, wars, betrayal, and yet his writings are a masterclass in serenity. He didn't escape hardship, he integrated it. He trained his mind the way a soldier trains his body, through exposure, not escape. He wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." That's the power discomfort gives you: choice. When you've trained yourself to endure difficulty, nothing external owns your peace anymore. The Stoics didn't want easy lives. They wanted strong souls. They believed that the path to peace wasn't through safety, it was through strength. So the next time you feel anxious, don't ask, "How do I avoid this?" Ask, "How do I train through this?" Because every small discomfort you embrace today builds the armor you'll need tomorrow. And one day, when life throws its hardest punch, you'll smile and whisper like Seneca did, "Is this what I feared?" Rule 6. Silence is strength. Withdraw from noise before it owns you. Anxiety doesn't always scream. Sometimes, it whispers through the endless noise we let in. Every ping, every scroll, every argument online, it's not just stealing your time. It's stealing your clarity. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." But how can you retreat there? When your mind is filled with the voices of everyone else. The Stoics lived in busy cities, full of chaos, gossip, politics, and power plays. And yet, their peace came not from running away, but from mastering silence within. They understood something we've forgotten. Noise isn't just sound. Noise is stimulation without purpose. Noise is every thought, every headline, every judgment that pulls you away from what truly matters. We've built a culture that celebrates constant connectivity. But connection without depth becomes confusion. You can't hear wisdom in a crowded mind. You can't find peace when your attention is being auctioned every second. The Stoics practiced stillness like a discipline. They protected silence the way modern people protect their phones. Epictetus said, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." He meant, detach from the crowd's noise. Don't chase approval. Don't drown your mind in opinions. Silence isn't empty, it's full of truth. But to hear it, you must first lower the volume of the world. So how do you practice this in a noisy century? 1. Detox from constant input. Try 1 hour a day without your phone. No music, no scrolling, no messages. At first, it will feel unbearable, like you've lost oxygen. But stay there. The silence you fear at first becomes the peace you crave later. 2. Speak less, observe more. The Stoics believed words have weight, and silence is strength. Before you speak, ask, does this need to be said, or am I filling a void? Each time you hold your tongue, you train your mind to listen, not just to others, but to yourself. Meditate on solitude, not loneliness. Solitude is the meeting of the self with the self. It's where reflection replaces reaction, and where anxiety loses its grip. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Silence exposes that imagination and dissolves it. When your life feels too loud, it's not the noise around you that needs changing. It's the noise within you that needs quieting. Every distraction you remove creates a space for wisdom to speak. Every silent moment is a vote for clarity over chaos. And here's the paradox. Silence doesn't make you weaker, it makes you unshakable. Because silence teaches you the rarest skill in the modern world, the ability to be with yourself without fear. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, led armies, faced betrayal, yet he carved time to write alone at night. That wasn't luxury. It was survival. He knew, if he lost his silence, he'd lose his sanity. Your silence is your sanctuary. Guard it fiercely. Don't let algorithms, gossip, or worry rent space in your head. When the world shouts for your attention, whisper back with stillness. Because only in the quiet do you realize the truth. The mind doesn't find peace in noise. It creates it in silence. Rule 7. Detach from the outcome. Control ends where your effort ends. Anxiety feeds on control. Every sleepless night, every racing thought, every what if, it all begins with one false belief. That you can control what happens next. But you can't. You never could. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Yet how often do we forget that simple truth? We grip life so tightly, the job, the relationship, the reputation, that we strangle our own peace. We replay scenarios, chase perfection, and measure our worth by results we cannot command. This is where the Stoic draws a line in the sand. Control what you can. Release what you can't. Everything beyond that line, outcomes, opinions, timing, belongs to fate, not to you. The anxious mind keeps asking, what if it doesn't work? The Stoic mind answers, then I'll face it with strength. You see, the Stoics didn't eliminate fear by predicting success. They eliminated fear by trusting themselves to endure failure. Epictetus was once a slave. He had nothing, not his freedom, not his possessions, not even control over his own body. Yet he discovered a kingdom inside his mind. He realized that true control is not about the external world, it's about how you meet it. And that's the secret most modern people miss. You don't overcome anxiety by winning. You overcome it by surrendering to what's beyond your reach and mastering what's within your hands. Let's break that down into 3 daily practices the Stoics use to detach from outcomes. 1. Focus on the process, not the prize. When you pour all your energy into the process, your effort, your discipline, your attitude, the outcome becomes secondary. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." Freedom isn't about success, it's about courage. The courage to act without needing a guarantee. You plant the seed. You water it. You let nature do the rest. 2. Shift from expectation to preparation. Anxious people expect, Stoics prepare. Expectation says, it must go this way. Preparation says, no matter how it goes, I'll be ready. That shift changes everything. Instead of fighting uncertainty, you dance with it. You stop demanding that life obey you, and start building resilience for when it doesn't. 3. Redefine success as inner integrity. Modern culture says success is results. Stoicism says success is alignment. If you acted with honesty, gave your full effort, and remained calm in the face of chaos, you've already won. No paycheck, applause, or follower count can replace that. Seneca put it best. The wise man looks to the purpose of all actions, not their consequences. Rule 8. Master the present moment. Anxiety lives only in the future. If you were to track your anxious thoughts, almost all of them point in one direction. The future. What if I fail? What if they leave me? What if it all falls apart? The Stoics knew this trap well. They called it prolepsis, the mind's tendency to leap ahead and suffer events before they even happen. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not let your imagination be crushed by life as a whole. Take the present and confine it to what is real." In other words, you can't drown in tomorrow's ocean if you stay anchored in today. The anxious mind is like a projector. It casts images of future pain onto the blank wall of the present. But those images aren't real. They are mental rehearsals of suffering that might never arrive. The Stoics called this double pain. You suffer once in imagination and then again in reality. But most people never get past the first one. So what did the Stoics do differently? They trained themselves to return again and again to this breath, this action, this step. Here's how they did it. 1. Ground yourself in what is, not what might be. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Whenever anxiety strikes, ask yourself one question. What is actually happening right now? Usually, not much. You're safe. You're breathing. You're here. That question brings you back from illusion to truth. It's a mental handbrake that stops the mind from spinning into chaos. The Stoics practiced this daily through mindfulness, journaling, and deliberate slowness. Marcus would remind himself, if you are disturbed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. That single shift, from judgment to observation, dissolves 90% of anxiety. 2. Reduce time to its smallest units. Epictetus taught that the mind collapses under the weight of eternity. When you imagine a lifetime of problems, life becomes unbearable. But if you shrink time down to one task, one breath, one action, life becomes manageable again. Don't live a whole week in a single thought. Live this hour well. That's how a Stoic handles pressure. They narrow the battlefield to what they can actually fight, the present. 3. Find eternity in a single moment. To the Stoics, the present wasn't just a slice of time, it was the entire stage of existence. Everything you will ever do, feel, or become happens now. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." And when he said that, he didn't mean shrink your life. He meant expand your awareness. When you're fully here, the noise of anxiety fades into silence. Try it. Feel your breath. Listen to the hum around you. Notice your thoughts as they rise and fall like waves. For a moment, you're not in the future. You're free. 4. Rehearse the return. Even the Stoics lost their calm. Marcus himself admitted he was often carried away by irritation or fear. But he practiced the art of returning. Every time your mind drifts into, "What if?" gently say, "Not now." Every time your chest tightens with future fear, whisper, "This moment is enough." It's not about never getting anxious. It's about always coming back. Anxiety is time travel. Peace is presence. When you master the present, the future loses its grip. You stop living in a movie of catastrophes and start living in reality, where most of those fears never come true. Because here, in this moment, where your feet are, where your breath lives, nothing is missing. You are safe. You are enough. And you have everything you need to act wisely, calmly, and with power. That's what the Stoics discovered. He who owns the moment owns his mind. And he who owns his mind fears nothing. You've just walked through 8 rules, not theories, not pretty quotes, but disciplines for the mind. The Stoics never wanted you to admire wisdom. They wanted you to embody it. So now the question is simple. Will you remember these ideas for a day, or live them for a lifetime? Because anxiety won't disappear after one video. The noise, the pressure, the overthinking, they'll come back. But next time, you'll be ready. When your mind starts racing, remember Rule 1. When you crave control, remember Rule 7. When life feels too much, return to the breath, the present, the process. That's the Stoic way. Not to escape the storm, but to walk through it with calm eyes and steady hands. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it's endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining." That's not harsh. That's liberation. Because once you stop resisting reality, peace begins. So, carry these rules with you. Write them. Repeat them. Live them. Build a quiet strength so deep that no chaos can reach it. And if this message speaks to you, share it. Because there's someone out there tonight fighting a battle in their own mind. And maybe this Stoic wisdom is the anchor they need. Subscribe for more weekly Stoic lessons. Not to fill your feed, but to train your soul. Remember, peace isn't found in avoiding life. It's found in meeting life with courage, clarity, and calm. That's Stoicism. That's strength. And that's your path forward.